welcome.
True. Oh man. Oh man. All right, we got a couple of questions here for you from push-ups. Mr. Kisin, Putin doesn't believe in freedom or individual rights, is openly hostile. Wow, we're starting with a, a serious
With
question.
the
Okay.
light-hearted ones, yeah.
I should have started with the lighter one. Is openly hostile to America and the West, is constantly threatening us. So WTF is the right's fetish with him. I don't think the right has a fetish with him.
A portion of the right does. A portion of the right. This was the point I was going to make. There's a portion of the right, and I actually don't think it's necessarily a fetish with Putin. What's happened is I don't know if you would have seen it, Chrissy. I had a super viral Twitter thread, which we later made into a video about why people are vaccine hesitant.
Ooh. No, but
And
it sounds like I would love it.
yeah, well, it sounds like it would appeal to you. And one of the things I talk about is essentially how people's trust in the mainstream media and governments and the establishment communication of information has been completely wrecked over the last few years. And I think you know that meme of "I support the current thing."
Yeah.
Well, there's an equivalent version of that, which is now "I oppose the current thing." And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
And I think that portion of the right that push-ups is talking about is they couldn't find Ukraine on a map. They don't know what it is. It's not something that they don't speak Russian, they don't speak Ukrainian, they've never researched it. It's nothing that they've been informed about. But what they know is, quote unquote, the media is always lying to us. And by the way, the media usually is lying to, right? So it's true.
Mhm.
And so they think that the algorithm for how to get the truth is to go, well, the mainstream media says the sky is blue, that means it must be green. And this is what a lot of them are doing with Russia. They think that just because the mainstream media is in support of Ukraine, that means Putin must be right. That's not how it works. Unfortunately, you're still going to have to think for yourself, guys.
This would be a good time to mention I have a Rootin' for Putin shirt available on my website. It's so funny. I made this design because I was like, when it all started, I was like, I don't know, the people that are telling me to like, it's exactly what you're saying. The people that are telling me to like simp for the Ukraine and support it without question are the same people that told me to support without question the vaccine
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so many other things. So I kind of made this as a joke, but
yeah. Yeah, but like I say, Chris, yeah, this is an issue. It happens that I'm from Russia and I have lots of family
yeah.
in both countries and family in Ukraine, and I spend lots of time in Ukraine. So I know the situation on the ground, right? So when people are, oh, the Ukrainians are all Nazis, I'm like, every time I fly to Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, it's me and 300 Hasidic Jews
Oh, wow.
going on a pilgrimage to Uman. If it was a Nazi country, I think I'd know about it. And maybe, by the way, they wouldn't elect a Jewish comedian president. Like,
Yeah.
it's complete nonsense. But if you don't know a lot about it, and it's just the next issue that now everyone makes you have to talk about, well, I can see why people have that opinion. So it's not a good heuristic. It's not a good way of trying to get to the truth of stuff. But I can totally see how in the current media space, some people would be tempted. Now, it pisses me off that that's what they've done because, I have family in this place and I care about it and I know what the truth of it is. But I also get that people's trust in the media has been destroyed. And, what the solution to that is, it's very hard to say because it's like people go, well, we have to rebuild trust in the mainstream media. I'm like, what, this mainstream media that's not trustworthy at all? You know? So yeah, it's become much more difficult for people to get information that they trust. And I think, unfortunately, the war in Ukraine has pushed some otherwise quite reasonable people into some very dark corners where I wish they wouldn't go.
Yeah, I think because people get upset, "Wow, we're sending all this money over there, and look at California, look at the poverty in our own country, look
Yeah.
at all the other areas that need help locally." What do you think is the biggest misconception about, what's going on in Ukraine or, like, the Ukraine, Russia drama right now?
Well, there are about 50 big big ones. I think the biggest misconception, I mean, there are lots of ones. What I've done on my Substack is I used to be a professional translator. I've translated several of Putin's speeches because
Wow.
he says what he wants. It's not like this big fucking mystery. He's very clear about what he wants. And he says it in terms, and the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, has made that clear. They want America thrown off the pedestal. They don't like America being the dominant force in the world. They want what they call a multipolar world, What that means is they don't want America to be powerful. They don't want the West to be powerful. They want Russia, China, and the United States to all be competing for power. Very bad recipe for the world, by the way, because when you have that, it's like what happens in Mexico when you take out the leading cartel. Guess what happens? All the smaller ones start fighting over, and more people get killed. So not a good recipe for the world. And Putin's made it very clear, and people don't understand that. I also think, you mentioned the point about American tax dollars, and I've always said very clearly, it's up to American taxpayers to decide what their money goes on. I would say the United States is getting an incredibly good deal for its money in terms of what it's achieving. Because if you think, this is the thing that people don't seem to think about, it's like, why do you think you guys are so rich and comfortable and prosperous and wealthy and stable and secure and all that?
OnlyFans.
Well, maybe in your case, but the rest of us. I don't think my OnlyFans would be as successful.
Butthole pics. You never know until you try.
Yeah. The reason that America is as prosperous as it is that you guys, you're 5% of the world and you consume 25% of the world's resources. Well, that's because you kind of have a lot of fingers in a lot of pies. You want to let Russia take over the world? You want to let China take over the world? Fine. But you got to reckon your share of global consumption is going to go down right quick. Is that what you want?
Nope.
Yeah. So when people are like, oh, this is really costing us a lot. Well, it is costing you a lot of money, but not nearly as much money as it could cost you if you let other people take over. So I think that's something that people don't understand. The biggest winners out of the war in Ukraine are the United States and China to some extent. Russia and Ukraine are both losing, which is not good for either of them, of course. But if I was an American taxpayer, I'd be like, yeah, give them whatever they need. Because they are standing up for American values around the world, right? Standing up for actual democracy and actual freedom, and opposing an imperialist invasion. This is why the anti-war, anti-imperialist left does my head in, because it's like, you guys claim to be anti-imperialist, and that's why you're supporting the Russian Empire trying to rebuild them. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. There's a lot of misconceptions, but I think the biggest one is like, you guys are spending a tiny fraction of your defense budget to achieve results that you normally couldn't achieve with all of your defense budget. So you're getting a fucking great deal, in my opinion. But as I always say, it's up to the American taxpayers to decide what they want that money to spend.
How much of why Putin is, I don't know if angry at the U.S. or wants us to knock us down a peg, how much of that is because like we're transing everything and we're making everything gay? Like
it's nothing to do with that, but it is a great excuse for him. It's a great way to tap into the culture war, and people, particularly on the right, obviously, who are fed up of all of this LGBTQI plus, up, down, minus, left, right, all of that. So it's a way for him to get support in the West, but I don't think that's why he cares about it at all. No.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. That's good. That's good to hear. Push Up saying was referring to Tucker and Alex Jones. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I did say to Tucker's producer, if he wants me to come back on talk about Ukraine, which I've written and talked about a lot, I'm very happy to do it. And it would surprise you massively, Chrissy, to hear that I haven't heard back.
That's upsetting. Man, I mean, there's so much you can talk about. Dang.